Good morning, Imagine, and happy Sunday. We are in the Lent season. That's right. Some of you might know what it is, some of you might not. The Lent season is this time, the journey that leads up to Easter Sunday, Resurrection Sunday, the day that changed the course of history. And that's always so exciting and so beautiful to do as a community, as a church, but to really experience the fullness of the joy that comes with resurrection. It really is embracing, the journey that leads up to that day. And so I'm excited to hear from our worship crew and to hear from Kevin as we dive deeper into this journey together. If you're logging on for the first time, welcome. It's good to be able to have you with us. And if you are logging on for the 3rd, 5th, 10th, or whatever time it is, it's always good to be able to be with you virtually from afar and all. Next Sunday, we are actually going to be having our drive-in experience together. So not a drive-through, but our drive-in experience. And the last time we had that was over Christmas, and I think I know that was the first drive-in experience we ever did. And so it's gonna be a beautiful time as we move forward in the Lent season together to be able to drive in and experience church, community, in person, in our vehicles, socially distant and all. And so that's gonna be next week, Sunday, back at the Entrepreneurial Sandbox. It's gonna be at 6:30, so it won't be in the morning, but it'll be in the evening time. And we look forward to seeing you there. I've mentioned this in previous times before, but if you are newer to the community or part of the community and want to help out and want to serve, we want to invite you to come help us out as far as setting up and creating this drive-in experience that we will be doing next week together. So if that is something that has been on your hearts or something that it has come on your heart, but you're kind of like moving it away because of the discomfort and potential awkward moments that come with it, we want to invite you to come be part of our team in setting this up and creating this experience as we move forward in our time together in person next week. If you have any questions and want to be a part of that crew, email us at info@imaginehi.org. Again, that's info, I-N-F-O, @imaginehi.org, or you could also Instagram us at imaginehi. Again, that's imaginehi. Look forward to connecting with you later, and I pray that you have a grounding, peaceful Sunday that brings clarity, that brings healing, and most importantly, that brings hope.
What you say, though the storms may come and the winds may blow, I'll remain steadfast and let my heart learn when you speak a word will come to pass. Great is your faithfulness to me. Great is your faithfulness to me. From the rising sun to the setting same, I will praise your name. Oh, great is your faithfulness to me. Seasons change, you remain the same. your faithfulness to me. From the rising sun to the setting same, I will praise your name. Great is your faithfulness to me. From the rising sun to the setting same, I will praise your name. Great is your faithfulness to me. From the rising sun to the setting sun, I will praise your name. Great is your faithfulness to me. Oh. I searched the world, but it couldn't fill me. Hands empty praise, and treasures that fade are never enough. And you came along and hold me back together. Now every desire is now satisfied here in your love. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing is better than you. I'm not afraid to show you my weakness, my failures and flaws. Lord, you see them all, and you still call me friend. 'Cause the God of the mountain is the God of the valley. There's not a place your mercy and grace won't find me again. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you. Lord, there's nothing is better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you. Lord, there's nothing is better than you. You turn mourning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn mourning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You're You're the only one who can. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing. Nothing is better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing. Nothing is better than you.
All right. Today is the first Sunday of Lent. So let's jump right in immediately and talk a little bit about the dilemma that we as leaders, as guides, and as pastors of Imagine find ourselves in and have been discussing recently. Lent is the 40-day season leading up to resurrection. And so Lent, as perhaps some of you know and remember from previous times of teaching and journeys we've been on, Lent is a season of clearing out space and making room. Lent is a time of, it's a spirituality of subtraction and removing. It's a time of letting go. It's traditionally when people give up things for Lent, it's because what they're saying is, in order to go deeper into the spirit, we don't need to add more to our lives from the outside. We need to let go of, surrender, and die to things on the inside. So Lent is a time of watching things die, having the normal things we're used to be taken from us or voluntarily given away by us. And what that means is we have been in a season of Lent for 11 months as a planet. All we've been doing is watching things die. All we've been doing is watching opportunities leave. All we've been doing is watching the path to our future crumble, and we're left with the ruins trying to reimagine everything. All we've been doing is waiting. All we've been doing is facing various deaths in our world. We've been in Lent for 11 months as a people. And as the leadership talk about this, we talk about the things we see, the relationships we have, and we're like, man, there's so many people that are struggling right now. So many people that are low, so many people feeling this wave of depression and darkness. Right? We're still, it's 11 months later, we're still uncertain about our futures. We're still uncertain about the future of the planet. We're uncertain about where all this is going. I just heard Dr. Fauci telling Anderson Cooper that maybe Christmas of 2021 this year, things will be almost normal. Maybe Christmas this year, things will be almost normal and probably not even 100% based on where it's all heading, right? Even my day today is indicative of the feeling of the last year, 2021, right? Just it's little things, but it gets to you, right? I remember the kids had a little bit of a cold, right? It's not a big deal. And so I couldn't take True to the places we normally go. We're not going to go to the beach. We can't go up to the top of St. Louis Heights where we feed the chickens in the forest because they're doing construction up there. We can't get in. And today we ended up just doing unexpected things, right? Like at the end of the day, I was supposed to be recording this in the morning. As you can tell, it's not the morning. So Titus, I apologize. I know I was supposed to get it to you this morning. I couldn't. There's just so much that happened. And I remember in the midst of this, I was driving True home and I was like, I need or really want, but really need some espresso from Starbucks before I go back in the afternoon after I've been with True. And I go into Starbucks, mobile order, grab it, put it on top of my car, on top of a surfboard that's up there, get back in the car, strap True in, drive out of the parking lot and hear a boom on the ground and look back and my whole drink was just spilled all over the parking lot. I have to get out and get it. Later in the day after I get my haircut, Christine says, babe, will you pick up, pho for the kids and for me on the way home? Sure, of course, no big deal. I go into the restaurant to order pho. They're like, we have no record of your order. I said, maybe it's under Christine. I said, hey, I don't know the English names. And I tell her the names of the dishes in Vietnamese. They still don't have it. All of a sudden, I think to myself, this is probably not the restaurant Christine ordered this from. I went to the wrong restaurant. I'm in there convincing them my order's there, and it's at a different restaurant 3 blocks away. And then I came home, and right before I went to record, True was dressed as Spider-Man. He pooped in his diaper. I changed it, and I shoved my entire pinky in the poop. That's how 2021 can feel as a whole. That's how the past 11 months can feel as a whole. One thing after another. Right? I even have some memes. I'm bringing them back for Lent, so you're welcome. But I even have some memes about 2020, 2021. Here's the first one. 2020 and 2021. Right when we thought it was all going to be different, it wasn't. Also, I like this one for the Joker. 2020 showing 2021 around the workplace. Yeah, you can replicate the things I've already done. And I liked when I saw this one. This person wrote, I don't want to be a pessimist, but the original Mad Max is set in 2021. But when it comes to memes, at least for about a week, we had all of the Bernie memes, right? That was a high point for memes. I didn't post any here, but I did want to show you one, even though it's been a few weeks. My favorite Bernie meme is Bernie with the entire Wu-Tang Clan, probably circa 1995, which was also the time where this picture, these outfits, these guys were my primary influence for fashion at the time. And yes, I was wearing Dada Supreme, if any of you know what that brand is. But that's the dilemma for us leading during this Lenten season. We know it's been hard. We know how hard that it's been, how hard it still feels for so many people. And then Ash Wednesday comes around and Lent's here. And then we're supposed to say, after knowing how hard it is, hey, by the way, just a reminder, you're all going to die. Because that's what Ash Wednesday is, reminding people of, you're all going to die. Life's fragile. Don't hold on too tightly and trust your life to God and experience more freedom. Right? It's like we're supposed to give this depressing public service announcement. Are you struggling? Has life felt pretty hard lately? Has it felt heavy and dark and sometimes like you have no idea where you're going and have no motivation to get there even if you do? Well, here at Imagine Church, we just want to remind you, on top of all of that, that you're going to die. So have a great, we felt this dilemma as leaders of how do we lead people through Lent when it's been a year of Lent. But in the midst of all that, as we enter this Lenten season, here's the thing. We are still people of the story. We are still people who find ourselves in the biblical narrative, this story of the universe, where it's created from, where it's going, what is our role in that. It's a story of life, death, and resurrection. We are still people of this story. Perhaps we just need to be faithful to retell this story again during this season and trust that this global historical church, the past 2,000 years, has ancient wisdom we don't always understand, but that they're faithful to tell each season of our life, and we can find ourselves in the story of Christ through that. I remember there's this story about this preacher who was getting ready for Easter, right? And, preachers have all kinds of stressful existentially sort of angsty moments when they get prepared to preach, right? It's Saturday night and they're freaking out. It's Friday and they can't think of an ending. It's Sunday morning. They're like, why am I doing this, right? It's Sunday morning. They're like, why am I showing up to this bar again to set up for this first hour by myself? I'm an idiot. Maybe that was just me. So as this young preacher's freaking out about this pressure of how do I preach on Easter? How do I make this special for people? How do I do justice to the story? How do I wow people, right? And he's having this kind of freaking out moment. And he has this moment with this older pastor, this older woman, and as he's sharing that with her, after she heard everything in her grounded wisdom and life experience, she says to him, just tell the story. Death and resurrection. The end is a beginning. You thought it was over. It's just begun. Just tell the story because the story is enough. And I say that whole intro for Lent because we felt this strong sense amongst us as leaders of let's just still tell the story of Lent leading up to resurrection and trust the witness of the church and the Spirit to guide us through. So each week I'll be doing some readings from the lectionary, which is the same scriptures that the Catholic Church, the Anglican Church, and so many liturgical churches read from each Sunday leading up to Easter. So we're going to join in with them and just say, what is the church preaching on globally? Let's just join in and faithfully tell this story together. And one of the readings this week comes from Genesis 9, 8 through 17, which is the story of Noah. I'm going to take a sip from this. By the way, this is my second drink. Remember, the first one spilled. I went back 3 hours later and ordered another one. Redemption is possible. Oh, that's so good. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read Genesis 9, this Noah story. I'm going to talk a little bit about context. I'm going to talk a little bit about ancient stories. Then I'm going to end with a really simple thought for this week. So Genesis 9, verse 8. Then God said to Noah and to his sons with him, I now establish my covenant with you and with your descendants after you, and with every living creature that was with you, the birds, the livestock, and all the wild animals, and all those that came out of the ark with you, every living creature on earth. By the way, how amazing is it that God establishes his covenant, not just with the people, but with the planet and with the animals? Right? This is a cosmic vision of a God who doesn't just care for the individual soul, but a God who cares for the planet and for animals. It's all sacred. It all matters. God's commitment is not just to people, it's to the planet. So when we think about ecology, when we think about eco-justice, when we think about the planet, this is a God who makes a covenant with all of creation. What does it mean for us to love creation as part of the family? So powerful. Verse 11, I establish my covenant with you. Never again will all life be destroyed by the waters of a flood. Never again will there be a flood to destroy the earth. And God said, this is the sign of the covenant I am making between me and you and every living creature with you. A covenant for all generations to come, which includes us. I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Whenever I bring clouds over the earth and the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant between me and you and all living creatures of every kind. Never again will the waters become a flood to destroy all of life. Thousands of years ago. And this is the vision we have of a God. Whenever the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and all living creatures of every kind on the earth. So God said to Noah, this is the sign of the covenant I have established between me and all of the life on the earth. It's why today people still see rainbows as signs of hope because of this story right here. They remember the rainbow reminds them of that rainbow, which reminds us of the story of the covenant. Couple thoughts first. Genesis story, Genesis 9, God sends a flood on the entire earth to destroy everything except, 2 living creatures from each one. God saves the earth after and says he'll never harm it. Here's a couple thoughts on that. First, there were multiple ancient stories around this time that had stories about a big flood. So it was likely there was some massive flood that happened around Mesopotamia, Babylon, the ancient Near East, like Sumeria area. Here's a thought on, this flood coming to the whole earth at that time. Ancient cultures had never seen a picture of Earth from outer space. They didn't know the earth was curved and round at that time, right? This was an ancient imagination with an ancient way of seeing the world. They had no idea how vast this planet was. So to the ancient imagination, right, you're talking about like Iron Age, the very brutal sort of tribal time, they didn't leave the area where they lived unless they were forced to because of war or famine. They stayed in this small region forever. So to them, their area was the world. So it's very likely that when they say God sends a flood to the whole world, it was probably just their area got very flooded. But to them, that is the world. So for those of you who get hung up on, well, how could God send a flood to the whole world? Well, these are ancient people telling ancient stories with an ancient imagination. And by the way, all these other, here's the amazing thing. All these other ancient stories that told the story of the flood, in the end, the gods were still angry with humanity because that's why God sent the flood, right? That's how they interpreted it. But in this story of Genesis 9, the Israelites are telling a story of a different kind of God. This is the God who ends with a promise, a God who ends with a covenant, a God who sends the sign of the rainbow that will always remind the people that God is for them, that he is not angry at them, that he is not going to destroy them, that he's going to remember them and take care of them. This is a story about an entirely new way to see God for humanity. No one had that vision of that kind of a all unconditionally embracing, loving God at that moment. The gods were angry. This God was faithful and forgiving and committed to the people. There was devastation, but this God promised that he was going to protect them, stay connected, and lead them beyond this devastation. This is a story at that time about an entirely new way for humanity to see God and relate to God. Creation, care, and a covenant. They had never had that vision of that loving and committed of a God before. The rainbow meant that after the devastation, things were going to get better. Now, last night, I was sitting on our couch watching something on my computer. I'm sure it was very dumb if I was watching it late at night. I'm sure it was very dumb, actually, but hilarious to me. And I had to look at something on Imagine's Instagram for some reason. And as I scrolled down, I came across the dancing video for Easter last year. Do you all remember that legendary video? Right? The Justin Timberlake, I got that feeling. I don't even remember how it goes. I watched that video, right? I encourage all of you, after this sermon, go back and just watch that dance video from Easter last year. As I sat there by myself, drinking a glass of wine, and I rewatched it, I haven't watched it forever, I just had this huge, huge smile on my face. I just was so happy watching that video. I mean, don't get me wrong, so much has changed since then. But I was so happy seeing everybody smiling and dancing and acting a fool and joking around. I just kept having, I would smile and stop and smile and stop. I looked like a crazy person if you would have seen me. But then in the end, as the video ends so beautifully with Auntie Lois cartwheeling directly onto her face, in the end, I just got all choked up. I went from like 10 different smiles to my eyes just filled up with tears. I was thinking about this sermon, and I thought about our community, and I thought about Lent, and I thought about resurrection, and I thought there will come a time where we will dance again. There will come a time where we will dance and celebrate and be free and feel light the same way we all felt during that video and whenever we watch it. There will come a time where we will dance again. Perhaps that's what the rainbow was saying to the people then. Perhaps that's what the rainbow reminds us of today. When the rainbow comes up, it says there will come a time when you will dance again. It is Lent and there is death. Let's face it. Let's not ignore it. Let's not deny it. Let's trust the story of God enough to go into it. But we go into it knowing that darkness and death will not consume us, because the story of Noah and that rainbow and that covenant reminds us we will dance again and laugh again and gather again and celebrate again like we used to. That's what that Noah story says back then, and that's what I think that Noah story says to us now. We will dance again. One of the reasons we hold on to the biblical flood story so tightly is because it reminds us to hope for the rainbow after the storm, and to believe that even in the midst of all of the storm we are in, a new tomorrow awaits us. See, this message of hope seems poignantly important and true and real as we navigate the devastation of this global pandemic. The biblical authors certainly did not imagine the toll that COVID-19 would take on our world, or on your soul, or on your family, or on your work, or on our lives when they told this story. But that story of devastation, and then a commitment to God that says we will dance and celebrate again, still has something to say to us today. Yes, it's been hard and it's still hard, but you're not alone. Yes, there is darkness that can envelop you at times, but the light is even more powerful. Yes, at times it can feel so isolating, but the interconnectedness of the Trinity, this Trinitarian flowing relational God, still sweeps us in to that sacred dance and gets us caught up in this deep connectedness of flow and relationship in this life. Yes, it can feel like there is no future, but the rainbow in that story with Noah reminds us that there is a better tomorrow. There is a time we will dance again. There is a time we will celebrate.
There's nothing worth more could ever come close. Nothing can compare. You're our living hope. Your presence, Lord. And I've tasted and seen of the sweetest of loves, when my heart becomes free and my shame is undone by your presence, Lord. Holy Spirit, Holy Spirit, you are welcome here. Come flood this space and fill the atmosphere. Your glory, God, is what our hearts long for, to be overcome by your presence, Lord. By your presence, Lord.
There's nothing worth more that would ever come close. Nothing can compare. You're our living hope. Your presence, Lord. I've tasted and seen all the sweetest of loves, when my heart becomes free your presence, Lord.
Holy Spirit,
Holy Spirit, you are welcome here. Come flood this place and fill the atmosphere. Your glory, God, is what our hearts long for. To be overcome by your presence, Lord. By your presence, Lord. By your presence, Lord. Your presence, Lord. Holy Spirit, you are welcome here. Come flood this place and fill the atmosphere. Your glory, God, is what our hearts long for. To be overcome by your presence, Lord. Your presence, Lord.
by your presence, Lord. Your presence, Lord.
I've carried a burden too long on my own. I wasn't created to bear it alone. I hear your invitation to let it all go, and I see it now. I'm laying it down, and I know that I need you. I run to the Father, I fall into grace. I'm done with the hiding, no reason to wait. My heart needs a surgeon, my soul needs a friend. So I run to the Father again and again and again and again. Oh, oh, oh. You saw my condition, had a plan from the start. Your son for redemption, the price for my heart. And I don't have a context for that kind of love. I don't understand, I can't comprehend. All I know is I need you. I run to the Father, I fall into grace. I'm done with the hiding, the reason to wait. My heart needs a surgeon, my soul needs a friend. So I run to the Father again and again and again and again. Oh, oh, my heart's been in your sights long before my first breath. Running into your arms, it's running to life from death. And I feel this rush
Thank you to our worship crew. Thank you for Titus for the edit. And thank you for Kevin for this word that we were able to experience together today. I am looking forward to next week and being with you, Imagine. And I pray that you would experience just a deep sense of peace and a deep sense of comfort in this season of Lent that we find ourselves in. So Imagine Church, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. And may the Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. And the community of Imagine says, Amen.